Hello. I'd like to present to you today a business continuity case that I have done for a research paper in my business continuity class. And the subject is to research a company that implemented business continuity and how it was successful and what lessons you can learn from their implementation. And the company that I chose is Nokia. Nokia was a famous cell phone company back in 2000. Nokia is, of course, still around today, but in case you were not as old as I am, this is what a Nokia looks like. And it was a Nokia 3310, obviously very limited capabilities compared to today's phones, but at the time, it was pretty impressive. And Nokia was actually the big powerhouse of mobile phones. They had about 30% of the market share for mobile phones, alongside a few other companies that were trying to make a name for themselves. And I'm going to focus specifically in the year 2000 because there was an event that Nokia dealt with just perfectly with their business continuity plan, and that was a lightning strike at an Albuquerque factory that made very vital semiconductor wafers and chips for these phones that Nokia was putting out. And they actually made semiconductors for a number of different companies across the world. And the company that owned the factory was actually Philips. Royal Philips, and you may recognize Philips. It is a company that does TVs and many, many different electronic things. And what happened at Philips is they had a very tragic lightning strike hit their Albuquerque facility. And it didn't seem like much. It caused a small fire. The fire was put out in 10 minutes. Most people didn't seem to think that there was going to be a really big problem here. But one of the issues is that this Royal Philips facility, it houses some of the cleanest rooms in the world in order to make these semiconductors without any kind of particulates or pollutants or any kind of impurities. Because any kind of impurity in a semiconductor chip keeps it from working at its maximum capacity. And so a small fire throws in a lot of smoke particles. It throws in a lot of water droplets when the sprinkler system went off. The heat causes deformations in the wafers that you use to make the semiconductors. So there was definitely an issue here, and Royal Philips wasn't really sure how much of an issue, because it could be anywhere between a few thousand chips were going to be compromised to the entire batch of millions upon millions. And so while they were figuring that out, Nokia is halfway around the world. Nokia is a Finnish company, so their headquarters is in Finland. And they start receiving data that seems to indicate that there's some kind of shipment problem going on. They're not getting as many chips as they thought they should. And when they confronted Royal Philips about this, Royal Philips is saying to Nokia and everyone else who they were making chips for that everything was fine, it was a temporary disruption, and that they would be back online no problem. Well, Nokia has a culture which says tell everybody anything that could possibly be going wrong. They're very focused on making sure that nothing disrupts the business. And so these purchasing managers ran over to the top executives and reported that they are getting a small blip in their supply shipments from this Albuquerque plant. And the top executives meet and they decide that they need to start talking to their other distributors and putting in larger purchase orders for these semiconductor chips so that there's no chance of disruption until there's more information on the ground. So they start bumping up orders around the world for Nokia. And that helps out quite a bit. But then Royal Philips is still not really giving information to Nokia that the way that they want. They're raising a couple of red flags. So Nokia sends their CEO down to Albuquerque really to find out what is going on the ground and what steps need to be taken. because there are two vital parts for Nokia that have to be made with Royal Philips. No one else does it. And so they're very clear to Royal Philips that this is what has to happen. They're amping up their distribution channels. And Nokia said, we're going to put financial resources and our manpower into your facilities around the world because we know you're the only one that can do this, and we need to make sure you do it for us. So they said, we're pretty much taking over your company for a little bit because you will not disrupt our business. And they've been taking this very seriously. And this was contrasted heavily with the response from Ericsson, which is a competitor, a Swedish competitor of Nokia. They received the same information, but they did not have a culture that communicates these issues up to top executives. And those top executives didn't really even know that there was an issue until weeks and weeks after the incident occurred. And so by that point, Ericsson reaches out to Royal Philips and says, hey, we cannot continue to do business if the shipments keep getting smaller. And Ericsson finds out pretty quickly that Nokia, with all their preparation, has pretty much used all of the distribution channels around the world and is occupying a lot of Royal Philips' time with pre-established contracts that have Nokia workers and Nokia money keeping Royal Philips moving forward. As a result, Nokia would maintain its market share. It would continue being the top cell phone company at the turn of the century, and Ericsson would end up having to scale back sales of its phone, and it would end up losing market share and eventually falling out of the mobile phone market completely as more and more competition built up during that time period. And so I see a really great opportunity here to say, with business continuity, making sure that you understand that the differences here are Nokia made sure to diversify where they got their chips in the first place, and at the slightest inch of trouble that they found, they took a mile of measures to make sure that things were taken care of. Ericsson tried to save some money by having one person do their business and just mass produce everything, and when that got knocked down, there was nowhere else for them to go because the capacity was taken up. They didn't have diverse relationships with semiconductor companies around the world, nor did those companies have the capacity to help them. And so having a good business continuity plan in place is going to always make sure that your business can continue thriving and doing great things no matter what kind of incidents happen, even if it's as crazy as a lightning strike.